Opportunity to contribute on a very important report. Madam Speaker, when IBC appeared before the Senate committee of JLAC, where I sit, you know the law relating to voting under the Constitution is Article 86, which reads that at every election, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall ensure that A, whatever voting method is used, the system is simple, accurate, verifiable, secure, accountable, and transparent. Madam Speaker, based on this Article 86, and the following articles which deal with election, every report which is made and every law which is made in relation to election, Madam Speaker, must conform to this simple policy of the Constitution. And it is very important that the arbiter is also must be seen, you know, not to be influenced, must be seen to be fair. And for them to be able to give us election results which are simple and verifiable, then also the cost of the election must be borne by the country and must be reasonable cost of election. It should not be expensive or, you know, very expensive election costing billions of shillings. The printing materials and the procurement of the same must be safe and the cost must be reasonable. We are aware that elections are won or lost at the polling station. And the system we have, just like Senator Chiregei has spoken about the systems in other countries, at every polling station, we should know who won and who lost the election. That's where it begins. But now when it comes to transferring of the election, problems begin to mount. And when you have the Joseph Camargos of this world and their system, Madam Speaker, there is likely to be a problem. I have been in the election petitions since 2013, and in 2017, the Supreme Court ruled that the election was not free and fair. It had electoral malpractices, and the presidential elections were nullified, Madam Speaker. And even statements have been made. The person who really takes care of an election is the member of parliament. And if you see the votes of the member of parliament should not, in a polling station, should not vary so much with the votes of the presidential candidate. If they vary, then there is likelihood of malpractice, and it is important that the register be updated, Madam Speaker. When the register is not updated, there is likelihood of dead voters voting, and it has happened before. We knew a mother of a prominent Kenyan, a member of parliament, who had passed on just before the elections. But after election, when we went to check the paperwork in that police station where she used to vote, we found that she had raised from the dead, gone and voted, and went back to the grave. So those malpractices do exist. They are there. Dead people do vote. And Madam Speaker, this happens after 5 a.m. in the strongholds of candidates. In fact, in the 2017 election, there had been cheating in 38 constituencies for presidential vote on one side and 16 constituencies of presidential vote on the other side. You know, so that it's like the presidential candidates were competing on cheating. And this is done by collusion at the polling station after 5. And therefore, it is unfortunate when we scrutinize during court trials and you find that there is electoral malpractice. So first and foremost, we want the Electoral Commission to make sure that there is no cheating in the country. And that's why the United Alternative Government is clear that the arbiter must be seen to be free and fair. And after 2 visits to the IBC, I have realized this is a team actually the country can rely on. We had accused them of being a commission belonging to William Ruto, but now we are convinced that there are Kenyans there. And the person who had a problem with Marjan has left on his own volition, which is a good sign that good things are coming. But the next CEO, who is very important, must be a person who cannot be influenced, must be a person who will not misadvise the commissioners, must be a person who Kenyans can trust, and in the event we don't trust him, then we have to voice it out, Madam Speaker. We cannot just keep quiet and we are going to participate in this election. In fact, the biggest clients of the Electoral Commission are political parties. So every coalition, every political party is free to visit and make their case with the IBC. No one is stopped from visiting the IBC. So when the United Opposition visits the IBC, they visit because they are stakeholders of the election, and they need to be sure, and they need to make proper presentations. And electoral offenses have not been taken seriously in this country. If electoral offenses and the punishments thereof were prohibitive, people will be careful not to mess. We have seen elections with violence. We have seen, even in Kisii yesterday, people plotting violence against opposition leaders, alternative government leaders, visiting the people. Why will you attack them? Why will anybody plan an attack on Sifuna when he's going to meet people? You should let Sifuna have his meeting, and any other person who wants to go to Kakamega do a meeting, also do their meeting, and let the best man win. But, Madam Speaker, that is not what we have seen. There is trend of violence, and there is trend of killings. And what I want to tell Senator Cheregai is that for every one person you kill because of politics, the person alleged to be accused of that killing loses votes. By the time you mourn that person, by the time you bury that person, it's all political. Kenyans are making their mind as to where they will vote. And the IBC must also come up with proper mechanism of promoting and educating voters. Voter education, Madam Speaker, has been missing. We are aware that voter registration will start massively and to every police station on 29th March after Ramadan is over. So we really want to call upon the Sifuna followers and all the young people in this country to go and register as voters, because finally it is the vote which counts. You can shout as much as you want one term or whatever terms you want to shout, but so long as you are not voting on the voting day, your effort is totally a waste of time. And I think now it's a time the young people and the 8 million Kenyans who did not vote last time should be very upset with how things are being done currently, and wake up very early to go and vote and bring a just government of the people. It is not going to be easy for anyone to put this country back to track. I saw the president yesterday say that his focus is on the ball. But unfortunately, with the golf ball, sometimes you, especially if you are an amateur, you hit it and it goes into the forest. Are you still focusing on the ball? We must really listen to Kenyans, do the right things for Kenyans. Kenyans have seen election violence. Kenyans should not die because of election, because of politics. Kenyans should not bury their loved ones because of politicians and because of misuse of the police force, Madam Speaker. We should all feel free to go and vote. We have seen violence in police stations in certain parts of the country, whereby, in fact, violence is so much unleashed on one side so that one candidate is totally disadvantaged, and that one favors members of parliament be elected, or the governors, and also it goes a long way also to favor a presidential candidate. And this matters when they are taken to court. Sometimes all the evidence doesn't come out in court. And therefore, there is every need, Madam Speaker, that we have a proper electoral law in the country, that a law everyone can rely on. And we have also seen a new trend where the law doesn't matter anymore, where procedures don't matter anymore for politicians, where every politician pretends is above the law, organizes and unleashes violence on opponents. I think, Madam Speaker, if an election is won fairly and squarely, then the other Kenyans, if you have a complaint, you file an election petition and voice it out. If there is no complaint, then the government which has been elected should be allowed to serve. It should not, violence should not be unleashed unnecessary to voters during the voting exercise. So I really want to challenge IBC, and I am praying for them that they get the budgets and the amount of money they need to plan a good election. We want to know the security of the ballot paper, the security of and the integrity of the electoral process, so that no extra ballots are printed or no extra boxes are taken into police stations. Violence is caused, blackouts are caused, and later on when votes are counted, it is a different story. As a person who have done election petitions since 2002, I am aware that every election is stolen in a way, even a member's election. And that's why people file election petitions. That's why we have by-election like we had one in the coast. And when what happens is the candidates who succeed, they are voted for overwhelmingly, such that the thieves of the election steal and are unable to finish all the votes. That's what happens in a lot of times. That's what happens in a lot of times. It is true, Senator for Bungoma, I can assure you, you are overwhelmingly elected, but I'm happy to hear the point of order.
Senator Wakoli, what's your point of order?
Standing Order 105, statement of fact. Can Senator Maanzo, as a serious prayer warrior and intercessor who communicates to God every day, even now, confirm to us how you stole elections, if you have ever stolen? What did he say? That it's a fact that people steal elections in Kenya. Can he justify
Senator
using
Maanzo,
his holiness title?
Yes, what I usually do in Makueni, because you cannot have a perfect 100% election in this country. And I'll tell you the malpractices. First, there are people and their agents on a poly day giving 100 shillings outside the police station. In fact, there are people, Madam Speaker, who only spend millions of shillings on the election day only. So what I do, I pray my God, and I mobilize so many votes without paying. My election is usually the cheapest.
Senator Maanzo.
Yes.
I don't think the member wants you to explain what you do. He wants you to substantiate the allegations that it's a fact that elections are stolen.
Yes, I will substantiate, and I will say, if that's what I do myself, and what I do is I put together so many votes so that whoever is stealing from me, they will steal and there will be a balance.
Senator Maanzo, you actually not understand what substantiation is.
Yes, I do.
So can you substantiate that people steal elections?
I can substantiate through the election petitions which I have filed, Madam Speaker. And the best example...
Yeah, so you know them, you're the one who filed. Can you indicate one?
The election petition, the presidential election petition of 2017 ruled out that Raila Odinga's election was stolen.
Senator Wakoli, that...
I'm not convinced. He should table facts.
Senator Wakoli, I think the ruling of 2017 is in the public realm. So you can verify and come and confirm whether it is...
Speaker, did it say they were stolen?
It said clearly that the election was stolen, and that's why it was nullified. And there was another election. That's exactly what happened. So, Senator Wakoli, I'm sure,
If this is the position of the united opposition, then we leave
Order,
them to
Senator
God.
Wakoli. Senator Wakoli, this was intended to be a substantiation. So
Yes.
what you need to do is verify the facts of the case and indicate whether he's right or not.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me go on to conclude. I really want to say that now I can hear this is generating a lot of politics. The position of alternative government is that we will talk and convince as many Kenyans as possible, as they are doing now in Kisii, to support us, so that when the election comes, will be voted overwhelmingly, so that anybody trying to steal that election will not be able to do it at all. A lot will be left more and will win the election. I thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to support.
Senator Aaron Cheruyot.
My apologies, Madam Speaker. Senator Odi, let me use this place. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report actually by our colleagues, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. For the record, I have to declare interest that I participated in the NADCO process that gave birth to this report, Madam Speaker. And therefore, as I speak, I am acutely aware that this is a reflection of the House rejecting part of the work that we did and the justification. I think I have quickly skimmed through what are some of the concerns that people could be having with that particular phrase. And I think the bigger challenge here comes with the fluency with which this report was drafted, particularly on the phrase undue delay, Mr. Speaker. The stakeholder, if you read paragraph 15 of the overview of the stakeholders' submissions on the particular bill, which is where this report premises its arguments on, is that the stakeholders submitted that the proposed wording of unreasonable delay, quote unquote, as in clause 2A of the bill, waters down the intent of punishing delays in declaring results because it has not been clearly defined, thus rendering it prone to misinterpretation. The stakeholders further urged the committee to align with the proposed amendment in section 39(1) of the Election Act and provides that the process and timelines for tallying announcements and declaration of election results. It's clear that as a committee, that's a NADCO committee, because we drafted these bills, Mr. Speaker, jointly. And it was co-chaired by the party leader of Senator Maanzo and the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, that we didn't capture the spirit of perhaps the country fairly well, because that paragraph tells you the fear that many stakeholders had when they appeared before us. Remember, the NADCO committee was formed as a follow-up to the 2022 elections and the protest that emanated thereon, which has been a cycle that this country has found itself in from as far back as you can recall. I think 2007, there were similar issues, 2013, 2017, 2022, Mr. Speaker, God knows about 2027 as well. And this is part of what we were aiming to address. But it's quite clear, if you read through the observations of the various, stakeholders that appeared before Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, it is quite clear that perhaps we didn't make it as exclusive or elaborate as many citizens would have wished, because a concern by those who appeared before us was that there were many instances where declaration of results was taking longer than usual. I think if you recall last elections, there were counties where, particularly, let's say in the seat of governor, it took longer than usual. And you know there were challenges. There's a part maybe where you find an opponent has realized they've lost the election, and therefore what they do is to mobilize supporters to go before the county tallying center, Madam Speaker, and ensure that declaration is not made, because we have put so much premium on the actual declaration by either the returning officer for the presidential or for county or even lower level elections, Mr. Speaker, which is a Kenyan phenomenon that I'm yet to understand, because in many parts of the world, Mr. Speaker, particularly older democracies, you don't have this kind of archaic practices. Actually, A declaration is made independently by the various state agencies, and that holds to be the election result at that particular time. We don't have this obsession of can the returning officer declare, you know, either for constituency or for county or even the presidential. If you read, for example, the submission by IGLEA, who are one of the agencies that appeared before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Madam Speaker, and I know for a fact that they have been involved in this litigation space around electoral matters for a while, Mr. Speaker. They posit that the proposed amendment should be consistent with the principle requiring a criminal offense to be explicitly defined to specify punishment that it seeks to advance an offense to avoid ambiguity. You know, it urged the committee to either adopt the definition of term unreasonable delay with the meaning and the context of the proposed bill, provided specific timelines out of which the delay will be considered unreasonable. This is precisely what I'm addressing, that in our attempt to take into consideration the views by the various Kenyans who appeared before us at Bomas, Madam Speaker, asking us that we provide clarity on this issue of undue delay in a declaration of results, we didn't do a fairly good job, Madam Speaker, and therefore they were asking that, number one, you must tie, because we intended in that proposed legislation to make it a punishable offense by law when you unreasonably delay declaration of election results as an elections officer. But that hasn't been properly specified. Second, and most important thing that they raise is that unreasonable delay is not fluent enough to explain that particular situation, because what I may consider to be unreasonable is not necessarily what you, Madam Chair, will consider it to be unreasonable. Many people will think that the returning officer is perhaps playing some funny games, but it may turn out that they are just counter-checking and they want to be certain and sure of how certain things are being processed. Therefore, on that account, Madam Speaker, despite the fact that I was part and parcel of those who drafted this particular bill, I agree with the wisdom of the committee and agree that we should not accede to the request of the National Assembly that the bill be passed as it is. I know there was a quote-unquote a gentleman's agreement, and Senator Maanzo, you need to check with your party leader. I'm surprised you're here pushing for the position of the committee that we do an amendment to the bill. There was a quote-unquote a gentleman's agreement at NADCO that all these bills, when they come to the House, given that they were a negotiated document, that one, they should not be amended, or if they are amended, then it should be in a bipartisan approach. I don't know whether any of those two conditions has been met for you to support, but I know you're doing your work as a legislator, which is something that is not the ambit of being covered or being waived by a gentleman's agreement, particularly other people. But I thought, given that your party chair drafted this, party leader actually rather, drafted this legislation, you'd be a bit more lenient to us. But I hear what we are being told by the committee, and I think I agree with them, Madam Speaker, that this is something we need to think about. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we must ask ourselves, how far can we go as a country to accommodate the fears of people who fear to lose elections, Madam Speaker? The IBC appeared before the Budget Committee of the National Assembly last week, I think. And I saw they were requesting for, I think, 60 billion between now and the next election. Can you imagine what 60 billion can do, Madam Speaker? And all that is processes that we have had to do and counter-do just to keep some people satisfied and to make sure that every political player feels that their wishes have been accommodated. Mr. Speaker, I have been fortunate to be part and parcel of the winning team in all the 3 terms that I've been in this House, Madam Speaker. And I know that electoral contests are not easy to win. But people must also concede that in any contest there must be a winner and a loser. We seem to be perpetuating a culture in this country, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, where people don't want to accept results. And many times they begin to speak about it even ahead of time to prepare their supporters, so that in the alternate, when they lose, they have a justification. We know these games, but we must be adults at some point and tell each other the truth, that I know I have campaigned and I have done sufficient work on the campaign trail for the citizens of the country to give me the permission to lead them, Madam Speaker. This business of drumming up beating drums of war every now and then. Oh, you'll not steal our vote. Which vote? If you believe you have sufficient vote, Madam Speaker, you go out and seek. You know, I saw a gentleman last week on Sunday bragging before the country that, oh, you know, I took care of examination and nobody stole exams. Yet is a gentleman who one is indicted by a committee of this house, that the only record they left at the Ministry of Education is that they stole public land belonging to a primary school in Ruaraka, Madam Speaker. And they want to lecture us about electoral integrity, that they will guard the votes. There is nothing, no business we in the political class have with regards to guarding of election, Madam Speaker. We need to surrender ourselves to the authority of the IBC and trust them that they are an independent constitutional commission, that the minute they have set out their responsibility and they have done it in a fair and transparent manner, Madam Speaker, we accept the results. In fact, Madam Speaker, I dare say that given the conduct of politicians in this country, Madam Speaker, part of the electoral code of conduct that IEBC gives us to commit ourselves to before subjecting ourselves to any election, Madam Speaker, must include acceptance of results, Madam Speaker. If we want to be a country that is progressive, otherwise we will end up being in a country that is pumping billions upon billions of shillings every other election cycle just to satisfy the ego of people who cannot win elections, Madam Speaker. And that cannot be allowed to perpetuate long enough. If you believe that you have sold a vision to the people of Kenya, then concentrate on ensuring that your voters turn out. They will speak through the ballot. Given our electoral system, I am deeply convinced that one of the hardest countries, Madam Speaker, to commit electoral fraud, particularly at the scale which many of the political players continue to talk about, particularly at the national level, is nearly impossible, Madam Speaker, because of the things that IBC puts in place. And I am not their spokesperson, Madam Speaker, but I just speak as a concerned Kenyan that our elections are increasingly becoming super expensive just to take care of concerns and fears of a few people, Madam Speaker, who don't have the courage of conviction to accept electoral results once they are done. Therefore, Madam Speaker, that's not the main reason why I rose to speak. I rose to agree with the committee that we didn't do a good job at the NADCO committee in terms of drafting that particular part of the bill to satisfy and meet the need or address the concern of fellow citizens. And therefore, on that account, I agree with Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that that part needs to be amended. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also rise to support the Jailer Committee on rejection of the amendments by National Assembly, Honorable Speaker. From the report, Honorable Speaker, the committee undertook very extensive public participation on this particular amendment, Madam Speaker, and what they have come up with is to ensure the people of Kenya know really what they want. In fact, I'm surprised by what my colleague on the other side has said, Madam Speaker, because I thought he was also a member of CHAILAC, but I don't know if he is. Madam Speaker, if you remember 2007, Madam Speaker, the elections for 2007, the then chairman of IBC, or that time the late Samuel Kivitu, Madam Speaker, said he didn't know who won. So that's why it took long for him to announce the results. And basically we almost lost the country because of what the then chair of IBC said, Madam Speaker. That is why when I look at this, I don't know if National Assembly undertook public participation, because the one by JLAC of this House, Madam Speaker, was very extensive. That is why they came up with this report, Madam Speaker. You can imagine, Madam Speaker, when you say the results to be announced and reasonably no delay or reasonable time. This is very subjective, Madam Speaker. And the law already is providing that at the close of the polling station, the results for 5 candidates, governor, senator, member of National Assembly, women rep, and MCAs are announced after the counting of the votes, Madam Speaker. And the law is very clear. The one for the president should be declared not later than 7 days. But when you say unreasonable delay or reasonable time, what is this? This is very subjective. A month can be reasonable time. 2 months can be unreasonable time. So basically it means we will be putting the country in a very precarious situation, Madam Speaker. This, I agree that we reject this amendment by National Assembly and go by what our committee, JLAC, proposed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know, it is, I'm surprised when people say elections are stolen. You know, as Senator Majority Leader said, it is maybe we need to also amend the law to ensure when we are subscribing to the conduct of elections, Madam Speaker, we say we will accept the results. This is a game. Elections is like a game. It's like what happened yesterday. Manu played with another team and they won. It doesn't matter how many, by how many goals or by how many votes. For the presidential, it's 50+1. You cannot say you have stolen when yourself, as a candidate, you have not campaigned enough, you are assuming, you don't even have agents in polling station. So who do you expect to help you to win if you cannot even help yourself? That's why we are surprised that somebody said he took care of exams. Actually, to tell you the truth, Madam Speaker, I was a member of ICT committee, and that particular former CS, we summoned him. He was very rude when he was the CS for ICT, and we could not entertain him in our committee. So I don't know. He wants to be the president of Kenya, and basically he was unable to run the Ministry of ICT properly. And when he was the CS Interior, he terrorized Kenyans, and he was very arrogant, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is why this law is good, Madam Speaker. We don't expect any challenges. It's only that we need to have good conduct. We need to trust. We need to believe the referee. You don't fight the referee because you have lost, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on uncassetted polling stations, Madam Speaker, this is very clear. Polling stations in Kenya are cassetted. Public primary school, even private primary schools, churches, polytechnics, Madam Speaker, and many other places. I don't expect that polling stations polling will take place in uncassetted polling stations. And the law is already very clear. You target the conduct of the IBC personnel, and who would have done that? Because if there is an issue in a particular polling station, IBC should have the capacity to cassette immediately, maybe a night before, even 2 nights before, so that the residents within that area will be informed where the polling place will take place, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the digital space, Madam Speaker, this is something that people don't, I think it is sometimes not understood very well, Madam Speaker, because Madam Speaker, this is what the clause 4 says. The National Assembly is trying to delete clause 4, arguing that interference with political rights is already covered under existing offenses, bribery and due influence. But you know, this is, Madam Speaker, if you read the Computer Cybercrime and Misuse Act, it's very clearly indicated there. And this basically supports what the Jailer Committee is saying, and this will enhance. Madam Speaker, finally, what the National Assembly should be doing now is to ensure IBC is resourced very well. They need to be given money in supplementary budget so that they can undertake mass voter registration, because for the last 3 years we have not done mass voter registration, Madam Speaker, because IBC commissioners were not in place. But now that they are properly in place, they should undertake mass voter registration so that the 8 million youth Senator Manzo is talking about, they take the votes. But I want to promise the united, confused opposition, Madam Speaker, that we will beat them by over 3 million votes, and they need to be ready to accept that they'll be beaten. So they need to prepare to come back to this House and the National Assembly as minority, because they are clueless, they don't know what is happening in the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and that's about.
There's no other request, so can the mover reply?
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to reply to this motion. And I want to first thank Senator Chiraligei for so ably seconding the motion, this very important motion. Senator Chiraligei, Nandi County Senator, is a valuable resource in this House. And at any one time, he always offers what he thinks about issues. And though sometimes we may not agree, he has a clarity of thought, at least on the issues that he believes in. So I thank him for seconding this motion with a lot of information. I want to also thank Senator Manzo for also putting his contribution towards this motion. And while he may have questioned why this bill is going this way, I want to first of all agree with him on one issue, that the people who are going around shouting one term, that shouting may just be campaign, but it may not deliver the vote or the win. And I want to encourage Kenyans to actually take up the vote, because beyond the campaign period, then comes the voting, and it's the vote that determines who then becomes a leader in Kenya. And so the vote at the end of the day is what will count. And I want to assure even the National Assembly that this is not a showdown from Senate. What Senate has done is that it has looked at the proposed amendments and subjected those amendments to constitutionalism, so that we keep within the legal parameters that we are supposed to observe when we are enacting the law. Thank you, Majority Leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot from Kericho County, who has consistently pushed the agenda of legislation in this House with a lot of energy and a lot of intelligence. And thank you for admitting that during the NADCO process, the good intentions that were intended to be outputted by the NADCO process have still been met, because these legislations were formulated following that process. But it's good you have admitted that because of the short timeline you had to complete the NADCO process, as this enactment of legislation was done or amendments were enacted, there were gaps that needed to be closed out. And when JLAC went through the legislation that was before JLAC, then we had to close out on those gaps and define so that it meets the specific needs that the legislation was supposed to serve. The concepts like unreasonable delay, Honorable Speaker, when that concept is introduced within just ordinary legislation that is which is subordinate to the Constitution, then to subject it to the constitutional time limit is the correct analysis of issues and is the correct guidance of how that legislation should move. And that's why Senate JLAC has exchanged the term and the concept of unreasonable delay to lean more heavily on the 7 days timeline that has been provided by the Constitution. And indeed, we need to ponder deeply on what Majority Leader has challenged us to do as a country. How much should we be spending to assure, how much should we be spending in order to assure a loser in an electoral process that that process has been checked enough and has been fair enough for them to accept the results. Indeed, Honorable Chair, I agree with Majority Leader that Kenya is one of those countries where it should be next to impossible to commit electoral fraud. And in fact, Honorable Speaker, I have listened to even the UK, the jurisdiction in the UK on matters electoral. Honorable Speaker, they are amazed at the kind of a system we have in Republic of Kenya. And in fact, they note that they have not deployed, number one, they have not deployed technology to safeguard the process. Kenya has already deployed technology. So Kenya is advanced in many, many respects in electoral matters. And I believe NADCO process gave us an opportunity long before 2027 to streamline all the the electoral laws, so that we do not have those showdowns that have been there in previous elections in 1997, 2002, 2007, 2012, 2017, 2022. We should not carry on with those disputes that are unnecessary, especially when the law can be straightened out. So what JLAC has done is to ensure that the bill is meeting the standards that have been set, or the contributions that have been given by stakeholders have been taken on board. The contribution of the NADCO process are taken on board, and the constitution is adhered to, so that we do not fall outside the parameters of what would be good constitutionalism. And Honorable Speaker, I also agree with the contribution of Senator Kisang, and thank him for supporting the report of the JLAC, rejecting amendments that are bringing ambiguity to the Election Offences Act. And it is like we are all agreed that if the law has to be changed, if the law has to be adjusted, then it has to be adjusted or amended in accordance with what is provided for the overarching constitutional parameters. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank your office for the support you have accorded to the committee as we proceeded with this task, and I would urge all the members to continue adhering to peaceful ways of campaigning, because the purposes of this law and the purpose of making amendments to the law is to ensure that, first of all, we are not having the kind of conflicts, Honorable Speaker, that have been coming with every electoral cycle. We are not having the kind of mayhem that we are starting to see when politicians have decided that it's time to reintroduce early campaigns. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, if we were to seek the opinion of Kenyans, we might as well discover that they may not be interested in heavy campaigning right now during this season before 2027. So mine would be, even as we amend, even as we go through these amendments and we go through this legislation, is to urge everybody that we let's tame the language we are using in public. Let's be more tolerant of the views of every person, and let's remember that everybody who's interested in any seat or in any political office is a Kenyan, and they deserve to be treated with integrity and with respect, and ensure that while we are campaigning or doing whatever it is that we are pushing, or whatever agenda it is that we are pushing within this period, we should do it in a manner that leaves Kenyans safe and that leaves nobody hurt because of the campaign period. And with those many remarks, I beg to reply. And Madam Speaker, I also beg and request that the putting of question be deferred to a later date in line with Standing Order 66.3. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The putting of the question is so deferred. Next order.
Order number 15, motion, report of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and networking engagements to Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit counties.
Chair, Standing Committee on Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise a motion, report of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and network engagement to Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit County. Madam Speaker, I have a concern on this report. The report was tabled last year, but because of the elapsing of the last sessions, it was taken to this session, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I urge also our business committee, SPC, to be concerned on the dates of the reports, so that at least this is a very important report to be tabled and to be done within 6 months, so that at least the county government to take the recommendations. Madam Speaker, with that concern, the committee on health conducted the county oversight network engagement in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa from 28th April to May 2025. Madam Speaker, the committee ordered to gather this evidence, some evidence and information receiving within the parliament and the key of how it engaged with the member of the public. Madam Speaker, the committee engagements involve in the site visits to the key health facilities, direct interaction with the county leaders, the healthcare workers and the members of the committee, the members of the public. Through the interactions of the committee, gather critical evidence on the health, on the advance of the healthcare personnel, the status of the medical equipment, the supplies and the effective of the emergency and the referral systems, and the implementation of digital health record. Madam Speaker, with the committee identify and visited the following healthcare in the 3 counties. In Mandera, we visited County Referral Hospital, Mandera County Referral Hospital, Elwak, Khadija Health Center, Adra Health Center, and Elwak Sub-County. In Wajir, TB Panyata, Hodan Dispensary, Wajir County Referral Hospital in Wajir County. In Marsabit County, we visited Marsabit County Referral Hospital, Marsabit County Referral Hospital. Primary goal of the committee tour were to manifold, to design, to enhance the Senate's understanding of the health facility, health service delivery at the county level and provide legislative intervention. To access the overall states and the quality of the health facilities, including the infrastructure, facilities, hospital equipment, and the emergency service. Secondly, to understand the unique achievements, prevailing issues, and challenging confronting the health service delivery in the counties. Thirdly, to assess the availability of the health personnel, identify the staffing gaps, and reviewing the training and the capacity building of the programs. Fourthly, to assess the availability of the essential drugs, medical supply, review the pending bill with the KEMSA, and investigating the commodity management system. Fifth, to obtain the information on the operationalization of the SHIF, the Facility Improvement Fund, and the reimbursements, the facility accreditations, and ensure the oversight of utilization of the health resources. Six, to assess the automation of the health provision system for the patient's record, drugs, and the commodity management. Madam Speaker, during the oversight visit, the committee identified the several critical challenges impacting the healthcare delivery across the 3 counties. One, the health facilities suffer from the chronic shortage of staff, specifically specialists. Madam Speaker, the second one is the low moral persistence due to the poor contractual terms, prolonged lack of promotions, and the failure to promote pay, salaries, and stipend, particularly for the casual workers and HPC and community health workers. There is also untrained personnel, including CHPs, CHW, and the community health assistants who are frequently found dispensing the medical due to shortage of absence, shortage of staff, or absence of the quality pharmacists, pharmaceutical technologies raising significant patient safety concern and violating the Pharmacy and Poison Act. The hospital exhibits the significant infrastructural deterioration that is including wear out of floors, leaking of the floor roofs, damaged ceilings, and inadequate sanitation facilities. Missing of the water taps in the maternities and many others, and often leading to severe overcrowding and forcing mothers to share beds in the maternity wards. Medical equipment service that's made, equipment is often in non-functions. Most of them are broken and lying idle due to lack of the three-phase electricity, inadequate technical supports, and expiry contracts, critical units like ICU, and often a lack of the requisite operation beds and equipment. Non-functional incinerator and lack of the proper disposal leads to unsafe, accumulative, and proper dumping of medical waste. Many facilities lack a proper security infrastructure, that is CCTV and perimeter wall. The county's routine face supply of shortage of essential drugs, and Madam Speaker, we realize KEMSA fill rate is so fill rates were not in some areas were not met, and meat supply needs persistence, forcing the patient to purchase medicine privately. Accumulations of expired drugs on the shelves. Most of the counties we have visited, almost 24 of the counties, they have the same issue. This is across all the counties. There is expired drugs on the shelves in a store and widespread, indicating the poor storage management and inadequate disposal. The health record management and inventory control systems are heavily insufficient. That is manual and paper-based process. This leads to discrepancy between the physical stocks and the recorded inventory. They hinder the data accuracy and slow information of retrieving and comparisons of auditability. There is also a budget allocation oftenly prioritizing the recurrent expenditure over the development expenditure, leaving insufficient funding for infrastructure upgrading and the service expansions, and the fund embarked for the developments are frequently reallocated. A significant delay and inconsistency in reimbursements from the SHA is all over in the counties which we have visited. The hospital liquidity affected day-to-day operation and the service delivery. Madam Speaker, the committee has also provided the actionable recommendation directed primary to the county governments and the relevant national agency and the following way. Madam Speaker, the recommendation of the committee is a regular recruitment of the healthcare workers, specialists, and persistence of advance to actualize the employment on an actual contractual or internship terms to close a huge staff gaps. A resolution of the delay salary payments, remittance. Madam Speaker, most of the pending bills on the remittance of the salary deductions, immediately addressing on low staff morale and ensuring a timely remuneration and improving terms of staff. Prioritizing the renovation and maintenance of the hospital infrastructure, including the floors, ceilings, walls, bathrooms, and also in fixing the water taps in the wards. Allocation of the dedicated funds to the complete and operationalize the stall projects, because most of their budget they normally take to recurrent instead of putting to their install projects, hospital projects, including mortuary, incinerators, and putting in place a proper security infrastructure, that is CCTV in all CCTV system in all public health facilities. Prioritizing also repair and maintenance of ambulance, and procure additional emergency units to ensure the operationalization, readiness, and establishment of a centralized dispatch system for the effective referral. Roll out also the full automated digital health record system across all the facilities to ensure a proper efficiency and data accuracy, patient tracking, and streamlining the inventory management. Madam Speaker, the implementation of the strict inventory audits to improve expiry drugs and line the recording stocks with the actual inventory. The budget allocation for the county CIDP and committed balances a portion of the annual health budgets for the capital development and preventive maintenance and protection, aiming for the last at least 30% toward the development projects. Madam Speaker, with that recommendations, on behalf of the committee, I wish to thank the Senate of Senator Abbas, the Wajir County, Senator Ali Roba, and Senator Chute for the warm welcome in the respective counties and support extended to the committees by their office during the oversight visit. The input and the contribution enabled the committees carry out this oversight mandates and function effectively in the 3 counties. Madam Speaker, the committee wishes to extend its appreciation to the Governor of Mandera, Wajir, Marsabit, and the respective executive committees members for the inputs and submissions and evidence produced during the oversight tour. Further, the committee extended the appreciations to the Speaker of the County Assembly in the 3 counties and the member of the County Assembly Committee of Health for their facilitations and participations. The committee is also grateful to the members of staffs and other stakeholders in the healthcare facilities visited during the tour for their submissions, which have greatly enhanced the evidence and analyzed during the process of this report. Finally, I acknowledge and appreciate the members of the committees for their dedications and commitment during the gather of the evidence and drafting of these reports and setting up the conclusion and the recommendations. Further appreciation goes to the Office of the Speaker and the Office of the Clerk of the Senate for the continued support to the committee during the execution of its mandate. Madam Speaker, it is now my pleasure during this duty and privilege to present this report of the Standing Committee for consideration and approval by the House, the Standing Order number 223 of the Senate Standing Order. I call upon Senator Cherargei to second. Thank you.
Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I want to as I second this motion on the working visit on the report on county oversight and networking engagement to Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit counties, most of them are in northern Kenya. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee through the Vice Chair and the leadership of Health Committee, led by the Senator of Uasin Gishu, and the able Vice Chair, Senator Sheikh Omar, for this wonderful work. I think, Madam Speaker, just brief opening remarks is that as a Senate, we should invest more on doing oversight work visits. It is more effective, it is more efficient. You go there and interact and get what we call social audit. You are able to sit with the people, ask them questions, Madam Speaker, because this era of just sitting in a committee room and receiving reports that are written, sometimes, even if it's an OAG report, You need the veracity. You need to feel what the people feel about it. Because, Madam Speaker, this constitution is basically anchored on public participation. So I want to celebrate the Committee of Health. I have seen also where you are the Vice Chair of the Devolution Committee, although you are sometimes gets worked up until shots are being held, like the one you are trying to intervene in Kakamega. But I want, it is more effective because when you go there, people, you can share, people can see us working. You know, when we speak on the floor of the Senate or in the committees, people might not understand. But when we visit an hospital like Mandera, which I had a privilege of visiting again in 2025, Madam Speaker, in January, when we went, courtesy of the area senator who had invited a number of colleagues to go and visit, we visited Mandera County Referral Hospital. A number of them, Madam Speaker. So I want to celebrate the Health Committee, the Vice Chair, Senator Omar, for the good job that she's doing. Madam Speaker, I know she is nominated, but I hope the people of Mandera are watching closely that what a man can do, a woman can do better. Madam Speaker, just a few remarks on this report, and I'm happy it is detailed report. Mandera, Madam Speaker, receives the highest allocation of equitable shareable revenue. We have not talked about conditional grants. We have not talked about the money they receive through other donor agencies and many others, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this Mandera County at the moment is facing drought crisis. We are aware there is the issue of water. Madam Speaker, there is the issue of challenges. Mandera also is borders other countries. You remember Mandera town sits just across some areas, Madam Speaker. So it is the biggest challenge. There is so many water crises. And I'm happy the President, Madam Speaker, and it is very important to note this. When he visited Mandera on Nyota program, he promised to deliver, I think, around 3 generators. Those generators are being installed in Mandera town. It will assist the issue of water pumping, which I have seen, Madam Speaker, in Mandera, in Wajir and Marsabit. The whole cross-cutting issue is one, water shortage. But it shocked us when the governor of Mandera appeared and told us that he had spent 55.6 million Kenya shillings to buy seedlings. Yet Mandera County Referral Hospital has a scarcity of water. It tells you the leadership of that county does not prioritize, or they don't base on need assessment. Because that 55 million would have been used to fix water scarcity in Mandera County Referral Hospital. Another issue I've noted in this report, in all the 3 counties, Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit, is what we call expired drugs. Madam Speaker, as a house, we must be very clear on the issue of dispensation of expired drugs to our people. Because it will cause what we call drug resistance. It can increase issues of disease, Madam Speaker. So I want to thank the committee. They have recommended very serious recommendations on the issue of expired drugs. Madam Speaker, on the issue of water, I have realized in some of the county hospitals that have been mentioned in Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit, because I'll run through, Madam Speaker, a number of them is the issue of plumbing and absence of water taps and water heads. You know, Madam Speaker, it is very unfortunate that our governors, especially from this region, are getting a lot of allocation until they cannot even buy water taps. A water tap that is sold here, Madam Speaker. They can even not buy a water hose, Madam Speaker. It's very unfortunate. And this report has captured, Madam Speaker. Remember, Madam Speaker, on Mandera, they have allocated 2.0 billion on health sector. But you cannot see, we are discussing in this report the issue of plumbing, Madam Speaker. It is very unfortunate that, and I want to thank Senator Omar for opening about that. In fact, another challenge, number 3, is on the issue of employees. And I know Kenya Union of Council of Clinical Officers, there is the issue of workers, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kinyo, what's your point of order? Do you want to come to the front?
And he just came in.
Bi Speaker, nimemsikiza Cherargei akisema vizuri ya kwamba ukiangalia katika gatuzi hizo ambazo hizo gatuzi ambayo ametaja, amesema wao ndio wamepewa hela nyingi zaidi, Speaker. Lakini ni kinaya kwangu kwa sababu tena ninaona ya kwamba Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya alipotembea huko aliwahidia kuwapatia generator. Na Bwana Speaker, Cherargei mimi namjua ni mkamavu, amekuwa akiuliza hawa magavana maswali magumu kuhusu vile wanavyotumia hizo hela. Bwana Speaker, sisi tunasumbuka kwa sababu tayari haya mambo tayari yamegatuliwa. Kwa hivyo rais akitumia tena pesa za kitaifa kupeleka katika gatuzi, hilo ndio swali ambalo
Kenywa, is that a point of order? What is your point of order?
Ninauliza kwa sababu Cherargei amesema ya kwamba sawa, Senator Cherargei amesema ya kwamba wanapewa hela nyingi sana kulingana vile alivyosema.
What is out of order about that?
Inakuwaje Bwana Speaker tena, Speaker, inakuwaje tena sehemu hiyo tena kunapelekwa hela zingine kutumia pesa ambazo zingepelekwa mahali pengine?
Senator Kenywa, so who is that point of order directed to?
I am confirming what Cherargei said when he was being accused.
Senator, continue with the language that you first picked.
Okay, ninasumbuka kwa sababu Cherargei amekuwa akishutumiwa ya kwamba anauliza maswali magumu mpaka wanakisia mambo mengine anawaitisha. Lakini Speaker, ikiwa pesa ni nyingi tunapaswa kuone.
Senator Kenywa, I'll get you to sit down because yours is not a point of order. When you get the opportunity and you're next, you will actually be able to make your point.
Lakini Speaker, ungenikubalia tu.
No, it's not a point of order. I'm sorry. Senator Cherargei, proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I remember Senator Kenywa just walked in. He was in Kisii and Nyamira. He's still resetting his thinking, Madam Speaker, to what is happening on the ground, on the floor of the Senate. And you know, he has been walking around with a very dangerous man who we impeached him, who is not doing very well. Madam Speaker, I note the change. Number three is the issue of shortage of nursing staff and midwives. And I'm saying that in this era and time, there is the issue of maternity.
Senator Kenywa, your point of order was overruled, so Senator Cherargei, proceed.
Madam Speaker, I need protection. I think Senator Kenywa should know this is the Senate of the Republic of Kenya.
Proceed.
This is not Karoga Market. Madam Speaker, this shortage of nursing staff and midwives, you know, Madam Speaker, it is, some of us, God has blessed us, we are still procreating. I know you, maybe you have paused or you are postponed or you are done with it. But Madam Speaker, when we still discuss the issue of midwives,
cannot discuss the Speaker in that light. Can you concentrate on
I just wanted to relate. Let me use Senator, the immediate Speaker of the who just left the seat, Senator Muma. You know, people like Senator Muma have they no longer give birth; they have given birth to their last borns. No, I'm just trying to relate because this issue of midwives, shortage of nursing staff.
Point of order, Senator Kathy. You have mentioned her adversely in your submissions.
General is still in the field.
Honorable, is it in order for the Honorable Senator to make assumptions about my personal life as to whether I have stopped giving birth or not?
Senator Cherargei, I rule you out of order and urge you to concentrate on your submissions without referencing to Senator Kathy Muma's ability to produce or not produce more.
My apologies, and I withdraw previously. I was trying to relate because, Madam Speaker, my pain comes that we are still discussing the role of midwives in northern Kenya. You know, that is why there is high mortality rate where we are losing young children, they are unborn, Madam Speaker. Those are things that should belong to the past. And that is why some of us normally ask hard questions to these governors. Because if they cannot take care of the future of this country, Madam Speaker.
Would you like to be informed by Senator Kathy Muma?
Yes, the Speaker can always.
Senator Kathy Muma, proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to inform Senator Cherargei that the role of midwives in Kenya and in Africa is so important that it is at the center of stemming maternal mortality. So it will be wrong for this House to seem to look as if it does not appreciate the role of midwives.
Proceed. I'm sure you are duly informed.
Okay, I agree with Senator Muma that is very critical. I'll make 2 points, then I yield. But and that is why I'm saying the issue of midwives and issue should be resolved. You know, Northern Kenya, especially Mandera, the average family birth rate is between 7 to 8 children, which means if we add the service of midwife, we can get even up to 10. The average of Northern Kenya is between 6 to 7 children. In Mount Kenya region, which some people say is a stronghold, are getting an average of 1.5 to 2 children, although we can triangulate it to 2. So you can imagine where the stronghold is, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the final point, because I know we are spent for time, is other areas like just infrastructure, the issue of laundry, Madam Speaker. I am happy that one has been noted. The issue of Khadija dispensary, Madam Speaker. The incinerator, I think, is something very cheap that we should not appear in this report. The issue of Hellwork Health Center and Hellwork Sub-County Hospital, there are similar problems that we are facing, Madam Speaker. The issue of water scarcity, expired drugs, the issue of staffing, the issue of access and ensuring that people get opportunity. Madam Speaker, the second county, Wajir County, I'm rushing through, is Wajir Maternity TB Center. It's not provided for. People do not have protective gear, which is very unfortunate, Madam Speaker. The issue of condemned infrastructure in Wajir Manyata TB Center, Madam Speaker. This is very unfortunate. I am happy that the committee have made recommendation to the governor to ensure that these issues are addressed once and for all, especially their role as the governor of Wajir, Madam Speaker. Even the issue of data protection, Madam Speaker, because most county hospitals don't keep data records. And you know, Madam Speaker, your sickness, how you are treated is a private matter. I wish our county governments could know that the breach of data is a serious legal dispute, that it is not fair to reveal anybody's medical records. And you know, most of us, including even in, I've seen Murang'a trying to digitize, but including Murang'a and many of our counties, they don't have protection of data. Number 3, Madam Speaker, on the issue of poor record keeping, the dilapidated, I'm happy the pictures have been shared. Especially when you go to Wajir TB Center, it is a foregone discussion. In the issue of Ordan dispensary, Madam Speaker, it's very unfortunate that they lack a pharmacist. There are people who are willing to work in Wajir. It looks like the county government is not very keen and they are not doing their job. On the issue of Wajir County dumping site, Madam Speaker, it is very unfortunate that you know, there is an incinerator, Madam Speaker, to destroy this hazardous substance that come from our hospital. They are just dumping in Wajir dump site, Madam Speaker. And it is a danger to the residential areas. And I've told you, Wajir, Madam Speaker, you saw a documentary in NTV where there are people called toilet collectors in Wajir. Every evening they go with their jerry cans to collect toilet around Wajir town. Then they put in the lorry, then it is dumped in Wajir dump site, Madam Speaker, which is very unfortunate. And remember, this is the county where the Council of Governors, Ahmed Abdullah is the governor, and he had the audacity to say they cannot appear before the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya. Wajir County Referral Hospital suffers from the similar issues, the issue of poor storage, drugs, expired, Madam Speaker, infrastructure, and they are allocating more than 2 billion Kenya shillings to the health sector in Mandera. Madam Speaker, I will finish at Wajir. We must see the service provision. 2 billion that goes to health sector in Wajir must be done. And I think the reason the governor of Wajir does not want to appear before this is because he is too embarrassed to tell us about the expired drugs, the poor sanitation, Madam Speaker, the issue of poor working condition, general poor development of Wajir County government, yet is the COG chair that presides over a gossip club. On the issue of Marsabit is the same issue, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, so that we can move with the business of the House, allow me to say health is very important. Let us refocus our energy. And I want to conclude with the words I normally use, Madam Speaker, that the future, the strength and success of devolution will only be measured by one thing, Madam Speaker, the functionality of health sector in our counties. So the governor of Wajir, the governor of Mandera and Marsabit, If I was to give them a score sheet, Madam Speaker, in the health sector, they have gotten -1 out of 10, Madam Speaker. With those many remarks, I beg to second.
Thank you, Senator Chiradige. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Health regarding the county oversight and networking engagements to Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit counties laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 2nd on October 2025. I will now invite senators to contribute to this debate. Senator Karen Nyamo.
Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to make comments on the report of the findings of the Health Committee on the visits to Mandera, Marsabit, and what is the other county? And Wajir counties, Madam Speaker. These findings by the Health Committee are not statistics. Madam Speaker, this is reality in many counties in our health system, Madam Speaker, and it begs the question, Madam Speaker, after devolution, after we have devolved health, what investments are we doing in our counties? Because what seems to happen is just recurrent expenditure. That's what we budget for. The infrastructure in county hospitals, including here in Nairobi, is really deteriorating. A visit to one of our busiest hospitals here in Nairobi, for example, Mama Lucy Hospital and Bagathi Hospitals, which are the hospitals that take care of the majority of Nairobians, the average Nairobians. You will see leaking roofs, you will see broken sanitation, and the most disturbing is patients sharing beds to date, Madam Speaker. I think it is time that we prioritize in our budgets, our county budgets, the expansion of the infrastructure in our hospitals, Madam Speaker. In this time and day, we should not be normalizing patients sharing beds and making situations or medical situations worse, because you might enter a hospital with a certain condition and have to deal with another condition that you pick in hospital because of this sharing beds, Mr. Speaker. Personnel, we have shortage of personnel, like as indicated in this report in Wajir and Mandera. And the Health Committee found untrained personnel dispensing medicine, and which is very dangerous because we know the repercussions of somebody who is not trained at all in the medical field dispensing medicine. This is not a joking matter. We need to be serious and train and employ in our county hospitals only trained personnel, Madam Speaker. We also have severe shortages of drugs which are perennial. These are things we have been talking about since I got into this Senate. Shortage of medicine, shortage of specialists in hospital. What is being done towards it? And the Senate Committee on Health has given quite practical solutions. And Madam Speaker, I recommend that both levels of governments, the county government and the national government, implement the recommendations of these reports as soon as possible. Health is not a privilege, Madam Speaker. You know that health is provided for in the Constitution as a right in the Bill of Rights, and so this is not something that should be up for debate, Madam Speaker. As a country, we must prioritize the health of our people, Madam Speaker. And if we truly want a universal health care and universal health coverage to succeed in this country, there are some things that we should not be debating on this time, in this day and age. So I want to urge both governments, both levels, to implement the recommendations as given in the health report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Karen. We can now have Senator Derito John Kenywa, Laikipia County.
Asante Bi Speaker kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza mwanzo nataka kupongeza kamati ya afya inayoongozwa na Senator Mandago kwa kazi nzuri waliofanya. Bi Speaker, inapaswa eleweke wazi kwanza mwanzo tuseme ya kwamba afya ndio kiungo muhimu zaidi katika gatuzi zetu, ama jambo ambalo tunapaswa kuzingatia zaidi, kwa sababu Bi Speaker, tukiwa na barabara nzuri, tukiwa na shule nzuri, lakini wananchi wenyewe wawe afya yao imedhoofika, wawe na afya mbaya, Bi Speaker, hayo mambo mengine yote yatakosa umuhimu. Bi Speaker, ripoti hii inayoangazia kuhusu gatuzi 3, Mandera, Wajir na Marsabit, ni kama kioo. Bi Speaker, inaonyesha vile ambavyo gatuzi zetu zinavyoendeleza mambo ya afya. Bi Speaker, ukitembelea hospitali nyingi katika gatuzi zetu, zahanati, utapata ya kwamba hazina dawa. Na zile dawa zilizoko unapata zingine tayari zimeharibika ama zinakaribia kuharibika. Na nyingi za zile dawa wagonjwa wangehitaji unapata hakuna. Bi Speaker, na ni jambo la kuvunja moyo sana, kwa sababu katika seneti hii tumejikakamua kuongeza mgao wa pesa unaoenda katika gatuzi zetu. Hizi gatuzi 3 zimetajwa hapa, unapata ya kwamba hela ambazo tumezigawia ni hela nyingi sana, lakini wanapokuja katika kamati ambayo inashughulikia haya mambo unapata hawezi kujibu maswali vile ambavyo walitumia hizi hela. Kwa hivyo kamati ya afya, kwa sababu walitembelea hizi sehemu, na Bi Speaker, nataka kukubaliana na Senator Cherargei ya kwamba ni vizuri kutembelea kaunti zenyewe ndio uweze kuelewa mambo yanayotendeka. Si kungoja ripoti tu ziandikwe na wale wakaguzi wa hesabu na wale wengine alafu tunaziangazia. Ni vizuri, kwa sababu sisi kama seneti kazi yetu ni kulinda na kutetea hizi gatuzi. Unawezaje kuzitetea kama hauzielewi? Itakuwa ni vigumu. Kwa hivyo hii kamati nataka kuipongeza kwa sababu walitembea katika gatuzi hizi na wakaona changamoto walizonazo, ukosefu wa maji. Bi Speaker, wakunga ambao wako huko ni wakunga wachache, na vile vile si wakunga peke yake, tunapaswa kuangalia hata na hawa madaktari wa nyanjani ambao wanachangia zaidi sana katika mambo ya afya, kwa sababu kabla ya mgonjwa aweze kwenda katika zahanati ama hospitalini wanaweza kuwa amemshughulikia kwa dharura ndio aweze kwa sababu Mswahili anasema kukinga ni bora kuliko kutibu. Kuzuia ni bora kuliko kutibu. Kwa hivyo Bi Speaker, haya mapendekezo ni mazuri sana. Lakini Bi Speaker, kwa sababu tumekuwa na ripoti kama hizi mara si moja, tutafuatiliaje haya mapendekezo Bi Speaker yameweza kutekelezwa? Kwa sababu isiwe tu ni mapendekezo. Pengine mimi ningempa changamoto kiongozi walio wengi, kwa sababu tumekuwa na yeye hapa kwa tuseme mihula miwili sasa, na tumekuwa tukipendekeza tuwe na kamati ya kufuatilia kwamba haya mapendekezo ambayo yanapendekezwa katika kamati yafuatiliwe ya kwamba yametendeka. Tusiwe tu tunatembea katika hizi hizi gatuzi tunafanya mapendekezo ambayo ni mapendekezo mazuri, lakini hatimaye yanabaki katika masanduku na hayafuatiliwi. Kwa hivyo hiyo ingekuwa tu ni changamoto kwa kiongozi walio wengi, tuweze kuwa na ile kamati bispika ya kufuatilia ya kwamba haya mapendekezo yote yanatendeka. Bispika, ukitembea mahali kama Nyahururu, hospitali ya Nyahururu, dawa hakuna. Mgonjwa amekuja anapaswa kupata afueni akifika hospitalini, lakini pale ndio anapata changamoto hata zaidi, kwa sababu vitanda vilivyoko watu wanalala wagonjwa watatu. Hapana, hata gondoro lenyewe limekwisha, mtu analia chuma bispika. Kwa hivyo hata kama alikuwa na ugonjwa ambao amefanya alazwe, anapata ugonjwa mwingine wa mifupa kwa sababu amelalia ile chuma bispika, inakuwa ni changamoto. Kwa hivyo si Marsabit peke yake, si Wajir, si Mandera wanakona changamoto. Vile vile ukienda na Nyuki, vile hospitali unapata hakuna dawa. Kwa hivyo kamati hii ya afya inapaswa iangazie haya maneno vile ambavyo yameangazia, lakini si kuyaangazia kwa sababu kuyaangazia ndio, lakini kutekelezwa haya mapendekezo tuyafuatilie. Hata kama hawataweza haya mapendekezo yote hawataweza kuyafikia, angalau bispika wakiafikia asilimia kama 60, tutasema ndio tuko katika mwendo. Lakini sisi kama seneti tunasikia, tuna uchungu, na wakiulizwa maswali magavana wanasema hawatakuja katika kamati kwa sababu wanaulizwa maswali magumu na kupeana viji sababu, kusema ya kwamba sijui anaitishwa hela, sijui anaitishwa. Kuna mtu anaitisha hela. Ile ambayo tunawaitisha ni uangalifu wa hela za umma, kwa sababu sisi kazi yetu ni kuhakikisha kwamba hela ambazo tumezigawa hapa zinatumika vile ambavyo zinapaswa kutumika bila kupitia njia ya kando. Bispika, nashukuru kwa kunipa fursa hii na naunga mkono ripoti hii, na haya mapendekezo bwana Spika, Bispika, yafuatiliwe ndio yaweze kutekelezwa. Asante.
Thank you, Senator Kenywa. Senator Wafula David Wakoli.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi ambayo umenipa na kuweza vile vile kama aliyekuwa mwanachama wa kamati hii kuchangia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kaunti ya Mandera na Wajir, Mheshimiwa Spika, imedhihirika kwamba haina maji ama hawana mafundi ambao wanarekebisha maji na mirija ya maji, na hivi kwamba hospitali hizi zina hitilafu hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, mashamba ama ardhi na maua katika hospitali ya Marsabit hayakuwa yameshughulikiwa ipasavyo na mahali pa kutupa taka. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika hospitali ya Wajir vile vyumba ama vitanda vya watoto wadogo almaarufu kwa kimombo baby cots havikuwepo vya kutosha, na hii inaathiri hali ya watoto wanapozaliwa katika zahanati hizi. Hospitali ya Wajir vile vile, Mheshimiwa Spika, baada ya kujifungua kina mama hawa hakukuwa na mbinu za kupambana na mbu ambao wangependa kuwamumunya watoto wachanga na mama zao. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, katika maeneo mbalimbali hakukuwa na miundombinu na vifaa madhubuti vya kupambana ama kuwasaidia matabibu kufanya kazi yao katika hospitali. Mheshimiwa, nikitamatisha kwa sababu ya muda, katika hospitali ya Mandera Marsabit kulikuwa na mabati ama paa zinazovunja, taa ambazo hazifanyi kazi, nyaya ambazo hazikuwa zimeunganishwa sawasawa, na hivi kwamba ilikuwa inaathiri ama kuhatarisha maisha ya wagonjwa na watoto. Hivi kwamba tunasema kaunti hizi lazima ziwajibike, na jinsi tulivyokuwa tunadai waje katika kamati zetu, Wakenya sasa wanaweza kwenda kwenye tovuti na mtandao wa bunge wajionee ripoti hii, jinsi magavana wanapenda pesa nyingi lakini wajibikaji ni vigumu kwao, ni kama donda sugu. Ningependa kuunga mkono ripoti ya kamati ya afya. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you, Senator Wakoli. Senator Mariam, You can now proceed to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I appreciate the contribution made by members on this report. Madam Speaker, most of the contribution is about on the recommendations. Madam Speaker, we as a committee, we have visited almost 24 counties, and all the counties have the same issues, most of them, all of them, if you say, but for specifically for these 3 counties, especially the drugs, there's no drugs at the hospital level because of the KEMSA pending bills. If I may highlight, Mandera County, the pending bill to the KEMSA is 147.7 million, Marsabit is 100 million, and Wajir is 134. Madam Speaker, most of them is over 190 days. So to get other drugs, it will be very difficult, and for fill rates to be accurate, it will be a bit difficult until they pay the pending bill. Madam Speaker, the other one which I wanted to paraphrase properly is motivation of staff of CHPs delaying their stipends and the casual workers payment. Madam Speaker, with that all, I wanted to beg to reply and request that the putting of the questions be deferred to the later dates as a pursuant to Standing Order 66.3. Thank you.
The putting of question is deferred to the next session of the Senate. Next order.
Order number 16, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 48 of 2024, second reading.
Majority Leader Senator Aaron Cheriot, you can move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 48 of 2024, be now read a second time. The Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill was published in the Kenya Gazette Notice, Madam Speaker, on the 6th of December 2024 and referred to the Senate for its consideration. This bill seeks to amend the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, Cap 412C, Madam Speaker, of the Constitution, which provides for the procedures for efficient public procurement and asset disposal by public entities in the areas of public finance. These procedures include the reservation, preferential treatment on firms and contractors. The bill further seeks to amend the Principal Act to amend provisions relating to the definition and terms used in law and functions of this procurement. Madam Speaker, this bill will strengthen the framework on government and how public resources are spent and managed, updating an old law that was last amended, I think, in 2015, if I am not wrong, whose main objective, of course, is to promote transparency, ensure that we do things in an organized way, Madam Speaker, that preserves public interest and ensure that there is efficiency in terms of usage of public resources, Madam Speaker. This bill prioritizes actually local industry and development by reserving local contracts to a certain threshold for local farms. This not only supports the domestic economic growth. There has been many proposals back in the day, but I have not seen people actually move in this particular direction to try and reserve procurement for local entities up to a certain amount, Madam Speaker. This bill helped Parliament to fulfill the constitutional mandate to safeguard public resources and ensure that we promote sustainable development. Specifically, Madam Speaker, Section 4 provide for foreign procurement contracts that have not been subjected to provisions of international procurement guidelines or adhere to Kenyan procurement laws. This amendment proposes that the Act applies to foreign funded procurement of goods, works and services, except where bilateral or multilateral agreements between the government of Kenya and the foreign agencies provide for the use of international procuring firms and guidelines. To amend Section 9, it provides for an additional functions to PPRA to monitor and evaluate technology, knowledge and skills transfer programs to provide annual public reports. It also amends Section 10 to include, Madam Speaker, representatives from the Law Society of Kenya as a member of the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. It further amends Section 33, Madam Speaker, to provide for additional roles to the county treasury to ensure that procurement functions shall prioritize goods and services manufactured in that county specifically. It repeals Section 40 of this Act to enable investigations to proceed despite the fact that issues under investigation in relation to an issue that review board is reviewing has reviewed under the relevant provisions of the Act. It amends also Section 41 to provide that a person can be debarred for public procurement for a period not exceeding 10 years. It provides that a person or a firm debarred by an international agency recognized by Kenya shall be considered to have been debarred in Kenya as if the debarment procedures and proceedings were concluded in Kenya. Many issues regarding to that particular provisions have been litigated in our courts for many years, Madam Speaker, where certain individuals or business entities have been debarred from participating in public procurement in their areas of jurisdiction. Now, in areas where you're working with entities that are recognized by our laws formally, Madam Speaker, if such individuals were to apply to do business in Kenya, they will not be allowed. To amend Section 44 of this Act to task an accounting officer to ensure that locally procured products or services are prioritized. In addition to accounting officers shall ensure that technology, knowledge and skills transfer plans from foreign firms are prioritized in the procurement and asset disposals, meaning that when you procure from a foreign entity, then you shall set in place procedures to ensure, Madam Speaker, that there is transfer of knowledge and skill to the local economy, and you just don't do a transfer of resources with them. Section 53 provides that the procurement of less than 1 billion shillings shall be awarded to a local firm. It also provides that foreign firms shall be eligible to procurement of contracts of more than 1 billion shillings where foreign firm has entered into a JV with a local firm for not less than 30% of the value of the procurement. It also amends Section 70 that requires entities to set out in their standard tender documents specific goods and works and services to be undertaken by a local firm, joint venture, where a procurement is of a value exceeding 1 billion Kenya shillings. It further amends Section 83 to provide additional forms of conduct of due diligence by an evaluation committee to visiting offices, inspection of plant. The current subsection only lists one form of due diligence, which is obtaining confidential reference from persons with whom the tenderer has had prior engagement. I hope at the committee of the whole stage you can provide further clarity to avoid the business, Madam Speaker, where you force people actually to travel to very far and beyond countries to inspect goods that are sometimes cheaper than the cost of the airfare that it takes the evaluation committee to go and inspect some of those goods, Madam Speaker. It also amends Section 89 to obligate the procuring entity to seek advice of the AG on the propriety of the funding of foreign tender in case where a foreign tender participates in the competition for procurement. To insert a new Section 139 and 149, Madam Speaker, and so many others. They are part of sections that are being repealed, which includes Section 177, which is penalty for natural persons decreased from a fine not exceeding 4 million or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years to a fine not exceeding 1 million and imprisonment for a term not less than 10 years or both, additionally mandatory. You know, the penalty for natural persons has been decreased from 4 million shillings to 1 million. Further, an additional mandatory fine has been introduced. The general penalty for corporate body has been retained at not less than 10 million shillings, but this will not be addition to mandatory fine if, as a result of the conduct that constituted the offense, the person received a quantifiable benefit of doubt or any other quantifiable loss. This bill also proposes mandatory fines that apply in instances where offense results in benefit or a loss. Madam Speaker, those are the various clauses that you are amending in this particular piece of law. So it's a cleanup actually of the Public Procurement and Assets and Disposal Act, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we conform it to the provisions of our new constitution, just ensure that we bring transparency and we make this law work better. With those main remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to move and request the Senator for Bungoma, Senator Wakoli, to second. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senate Majority Leader, Senator Wafula Wakoli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the first, I want to second this, Honorable Speaker, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, National Assembly, number 48 of 2024. Honorable Speaker, I will not delve into detail because of time, but for the purpose of the public and Kenyans who follow, Honorable Speaker, I want to submit and second and say that Section 86 to prohibit citizen contractors who become successful tenderers from subcontracting to foreign companies unless the knowledge, skills, goods or services are unavailable in this country. Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that is in the public domain. We are doing affordable housing, we are doing bridges, we are doing many infrastructural development, we are doing a stadium, Honorable Speaker. But Kenyans have the zeal and the desire to participate and build and construct this country. This bill will give them an opportunity to participate directly and ensure that they also add value in their skills, Honorable Speaker. To amend 89, Honorable Speaker, to obligate the procurement entity to seek the advice of the Attorney General on the propriety of the funding of the foreign tenderer in a case where a foreign tenderer participates in the competition for procurement. Honorable Speaker, to amend 135 is part of the tender documents, the transfer of skills and technology plan. We are sending many of our young people out of this country. Now we are tapping into this technological field directly from Kenya, so that as they leave this country, they are better human resource people to the world than what we have today. We don't say that we don't have the base, but we are saying the other technologies that are coming on board, we can tap into them and make Kenya great again. Honorable Speaker, to amend Section 149 to obligate the authority to ensure that priority is given to citizen contractors in the subcontractors of tenderers. Further, where it is deemed necessary to subcontract a tender to a foreign contractor, the accounting officer shall cause a report to be prepared. Honorable Speaker, you know this country, where people have been mischievous enough to pursue tenders, big tenders, but behind the scenes, they just transfer without any knowledge, without any reason. This bill is going to ensure that by the time you are subcontracting a foreign entity, it means this country is not able to provide those services. So I support this bill and request that my colleague members to create time and go through it and be able to push it to the next level. To amend Section 176 is to provide for an offense of a contractor who submits substandard quality of works, goods or services contrary to the contract specification, terms or conditions of the time of inspection. It also provides for an offense of a person who certifies or delivers substandard goods or works that are incomplete, non-existent, and whose quality is below the specifications contained in the contracts commits an offense. Honorable Speaker, these are part of the bills or the contracts or the projects we are seeing across the counties, Honorable Speaker. You go to Wajir, you go to Marsabit, you come to my Bungoma County. The dual carriageway, Honorable Speaker, given to a contractor 1.2 billion consumed. You check on the road, it is dismally done, and people are walking scot-free, Honorable Speaker. We are saying that people must be held to account. You go to health facilities, Honorable Speaker, across the country. The workmanship there is wanting, but people certified. People allowed payments to be done. You go to ECDs in Bungoma, the same. So we are saying this bill, everyone will be held accountable. There are no, people will not hide in political big fathers or godfathers. You will be subjected to this law, that if you cook certificates, if you forge approval letters, you must be held accountable. And that is the spirit of the Republic of Kenya. The government wants everyone to be accountable for what they do. So this bill is going to provide a good platform for contractors, for tenderers, for practitioners, or those service providers, to the financial institutions, to ensure that together we deliver on our mandate. Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you, Senator Wakoli. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 48 of 2024, be now read a second time. Honorable Senators, I do not see any senator wishing to have you. Oh, okay. Senator Chimera Raphael.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I must appreciate that the fact that we have a new chamber system. I was not able to work on it. Madam Speaker, let me first take this opportunity to really thank and commend the Majority Leader together with his able whip for moving and supporting this motion. I rise, Madam Speaker, in support of this particular bill. I have listened to the proposed amendments as moved ably by the Majority Leader. And Madam Speaker, for the first time, I am happy that as a nation we are seeking to sanitize and regularize how we do our procurement system. You'd notice, Madam Speaker, the procurement function is very key in making sure that there is equitable economic growth across all sectors, Madam Speaker, of the economy. Madam Speaker, we must ensure that the supply chain management end-to-end is managed in a very transparent manner, in an efficient manner, and in a manner that ensures that public resources are prudently used so that Kenyans can get value for their money, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'll speak to three issues on the amendments as proposed in this bill, Madam Speaker. The first one is the issue on local content, Madam Speaker. I am happy that for the first time now we have law that seeks to protect local content, Madam Speaker. Now that the bill specifically speaks on the need to have our small contractors, those who regularly interact with the procurement system, Madam Speaker, are protected, that they're able to get business, they're able to get contracts in a very fair and competitive manner, Madam Speaker, and their payment is guaranteed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to speak on the proposed amendment on the need to have LSK membership sitting in various boards in the procurement function, more or less and specifically on the issue of PPRA, Madam Speaker, and also the procurement tribunal board, Madam Speaker. When you look at those of us who have a chance to practice before the PPRA and the PPRB, Madam Speaker, it is purely questions of law in that particular tribunal and those particular boards, Madam Speaker. But shockingly, the membership of those boards, Madam Speaker, has never had anyone with membership from LSK. And I'm happy now the bill is specific that there is need to have someone who is from LSK to sit in those particular boards and the regulatory authority, Madam Speaker, so that they're able to guide fellow members insofar as procurement issues are concerned and making sure there's compliance with the law, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, lastly is the question on foreign procurement and the need to have protection on our small-time contractors who are able to scale up their business and able to land contracts that are worth 1 billion and below, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you would recall, and it is common knowledge and in the public domain, that most of the players in our procurement system in the country, especially contracts that are closer to 1 billion Kenya shillings, Madam Speaker, are usually a preserve of the foreign companies. There are many Chinese companies that are constructing and engaging in our public procurement because the law does not seem to protect those of us who are local farms, from local origin, Madam Speaker, who would wish to participate in contracts that are almost getting to 1 billion, Madam Speaker. I am so elated that for the first time, there is law that protects that particular businessman, that particular contractor. He is able to bid fairly and freely so that he can be able to land anything that is below 1 billion bob. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, for those many remarks, I wish to support.
Thank you, Senator. I will now call upon the majority leader to proceed and reply.
Madam Speaker, I thought there were more than 2 people in the House, but maybe for one reason or the other, Madam Speaker, they chose not to speak to this particular topic, and I expected Chimera, Senator Chimera, my colleague, who has just walked in, to have more to say. But I realized, typical of the selfish nature of the profession he comes from, the only part of the law that he picked is that we have now made it possible for LSK to have a representative. Surely, when will our lawyers do better, Madam Speaker? It cannot always be about you guys, Madam Speaker. In fact, I'm beginning to rethink whether we made the right thing. Maybe we should give this position to accountants at IcePark instead of you lawyers. Madam Speaker, I thank you. I appreciate what my colleagues have done and said about this. Just a reflection on our procurement space. You know, one of the promises, I hear some of these politicians who have made it a habit, Madam Speaker, of clinging on to anything and everything to try and get a career out of throwing cheap shots at the president, say that there's been little reform that has been made in the country as a realization or appreciation of some of the conversations that have happened in this country in 2024, when there was a big call to accountability by various agencies. It wasn't just about young people. There are many things that many people that spoke, including religious bodies and others. Part of the bigger space that the conversation was about was in public procurement. And you remember the president promised at that particular time that we shall move from manual to digital procurement. And that has been actualized, Madam Speaker. No public entity has been allowed to procure manually in this current financial year. That's a promise that was made at that particular time, and a significant one, Madam Speaker, because when you do your procurement electronically, as proposed by many people and pushed by the president, despite, by the way, sabotage by very many agencies, including our colleagues in the National Assembly, who passed a law, again, trying to revert that particular proposal for reasons that I never understood. There was sabotage even from the media. You know, we live in a very interesting country, that sometimes we have people who serve in the Kenyan media who believe that if being right demands that they appear to agree with the president, then they'd rather appear wrong, for reasons I have never understood, Madam Speaker. On this particular issue of moving from manual to electronic procurement, Madam Speaker, I saw many of them trying to correct and say, oh, this process has been hurried, it's been rushed. Yet, I thought if there was ever to be a policy proposal that the executive made that was as progressive as many of other proposals that have been made over the years in the term of this administration, it is this move from manual to electronic, Madam Speaker, where you can go to the portals of the procuring entities, see the firms that are benefiting from public procurement tenders, at what cost, Madam Speaker, and those efforts need to be lauded, Madam Speaker. The judiciary was not left behind. Many times we are told, oh, you know, we have free courts and all these things. There were orders left, right, and center as usual. You know, you can get a court order for everything in this country. There were court orders against that policy proposal, Madam Speaker. And you look at it and you wonder, you know, when you object to such proposals that will ensure that we safeguard public property and public interest, Madam Speaker, which interest are you protecting as a judicial officer when you issue orders against such proposals, Madam Speaker? But I'm glad that the President stood firm, that as we speak today, any procuring entity that has done a procurement of goods and services manually, it has been with the express provision of the National Treasury and after meeting certain conditions and justification as to why that particular process could not be undertaken electronically. That ought to be the case, Madam Speaker, so that we cut down on graft. It's one of the most decisive moves. Of course, the Council of Governors, Madam Speaker, objected to these policy proposals for reasons that you and I know very well. And some of the counties, actually, from the reports that are tabled in this House every other afternoon, are not in compliance. It is my hope, Madam Speaker, that such entities will actually change tact and move appropriately as expected. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to reply. Madam Speaker, further to that, I wish to make a proposal that in compliance with Standing Order number 66.3, that the putting of a question on this particular subject be deferred until a later date. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader, the putting of question is deferred to the next session of Senate. Next order.
Order number 17, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 46 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Seki is not in the House, so that will be dropped from the order paper.
Order number 18.
Oh, that was Senator, not Seki. It's now deferred. Order number 18, proceed.
Order number 18, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 49 of 2023, second reading.
That order is also deferred. The mover is not in the House. Proceed to the next order.
Order number 19, the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2024, second reading.
That order is also deferred. The mover is not in the House. Next order.
Order number 20, the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bills number 12 of 2024, second reading.
Senate Majority Leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this bill, the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, was published in the Kenya Gazette Supplement number 49 of 2024, dated 18th of March 2024, and the bill was passed by the National Assembly on the 12th of June 2025 and referred to the Senate for its consideration. What is the input of the bill? This bill, Madam Speaker, seeks to give effect to Article 11 of our Constitution, which promotes all forms of national and cultural expression through literature, the arts, traditional celebrations, science, communication, information, mass media, publication, libraries, and other aspects of our cultural heritage, and ensure that communities receive compensation or royalties for the use of their culture and cultural heritage, and provide the framework to guide national cultural development. The implementation, Madam Speaker, of this bill, I don't know what has happened to the screens, Madam Speaker, the color looked different from what what we were seeing a few minutes ago. You know, we made a comment about this audiovisual. Now it's back to the default settings. Madam Speaker, you know, somebody can be confused. They can be looking and watching at the screens. They realize it's me speaking 1 minute, then the next minute, it's a white man with a voice similar to man speaking.
Technical team, can you ensure we don't have AI dancing and playing games on the screen? Retain Senator Aaron Cheriot's dark complexion. I think it earns him some mileage and longer points.
You know, I'm dark and handsome, Madam Speaker, and I don't appreciate when there is interference of that complexion. So the implementation of this bill will guide the principles including equal recognition, dignity and respect to all cultures, Madam Speaker, including those of the minorities, the marginalized people, while ensuring that cultural activities, expressions and practices are consistent with the Bill of Rights. Remember, Article 11 includes the Bill of Rights, Madam Speaker. one of the sections of the Constitution that we are most proud of. It sits at the apex, actually, of development of that space globally in terms of the freedoms that we have given to our citizens, Madam Speaker. And therefore, any attempt to ensure that those rights are inculcated in our society, protected by statute and law, Madam Speaker, is welcome. This is one such legislation, Madam Speaker, particularly on culture. Many people dismiss culture and imagine that culture has no space in the 21st century. They need to read. It's actually lack of appreciation of culture, Madam Speaker, that has led many societies astray. And any society that is not strong on culture, Madam Speaker, cannot develop, cannot move forward, and cannot appreciate the beauty of human nature as expected. Culture, Madam Speaker, is at the cornerstone, in defining identity, values, and heritage of communities, particularly in our country, Madam Speaker. And it places this constitution that we have, the 2010 Constitution, places an obligation on the state to promote all forms of national and cultural expressions, including literature, arts, tradition, celebration, science, communications, information, and all that. And the Constitution expects us as Parliament to enact legislation to ensure that communities receive compensation or royalties for use of their cultures and cultural heritage. There are many communities which people actually ape and mimic their cultures, Madam Speaker, but they're not paid or receive any forms of royalties for the use of the same, including almost all 47 communities, Madam Speaker. There's something unique about every part of Kenya, Madam Speaker, and we must provide the necessary legislation to ensure that all these entities, Madam Speaker, are provided with the necessary support to move that particular space. At present, we as a country don't have a comprehensive legal framework to effectively protect, promote, and manage cultural heritage and expression. The existing legal provisions remain fragmented and insufficient to address emerging contemporary challenges relating to cultural preservation, equitable compensation, and the use of their heritage. Madam Speaker, on the coordination of cultural matters between the national and county governments. This is a place that many people forget that actually there are communities whose culture we have borrowed and rely on to promote our country, to promote our various counties, but people don't receive the necessary royalties. So how is this being done, Madam Speaker? Specifically, under Part 1, which is Clause 1 to 4 of the bill, we provide for matters including the preliminary issues, the issues of title, definitions, interpretation, and the principal objects of the bill. Part 2, which is Clause 9 to 15 of the bill, 5 to 19, sorry, it provides for the management of culture in Kenya and delineates functions for both the national and county governments. It provides for the establishment of the cultural database, access to information relating management of culture in Kenya, compensation to individuals, group communities for the use of cultural properties, research into culture, cultural heritage, and registration. Under Part 3, Madam Speaker, which is Clause 20 to 29, the bill provides for offenses and penalties in relation to culture when you violate and are not sensitive of people's culture. Remember, this article is about preservation and deepening of culture within society. So what happens to those who violate such instances? Part 4 rather, which is Clause 30 to 33, it just makes the general relations in regards to fees, charges, and penalty on the power to make regulations under this act. Therefore, Madam Speaker, given that this is a bill that should generally attract very good contributions from our colleagues, those who love culture and appreciate it for what it is, this is a very important moment that I'd wish to pose. I don't know if there's sufficient time, Madam Speaker, to continue making my submissions. I am actually concerned because there are many things that I still want to say, yet I still have a balance of, I don't know how much time you can guide so that then I will know, Madam Speaker, what to do with the remainder of the time subsequently when I get the chance to speak on this bill. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Senator. When we resume, you will have a balance of 52 minutes to speak into that important bill. And Honourable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 25th February 2026 at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.